The success of indie games as of late has been nothing short of amazing. So many more gamers, yes, I use that term unironically, are being made aware of all of these games made by developers that actually care about their game. No outside influence, no investor money manipulation shenanigans going on in the background, just a developer or developers making a game that they actually have a passion for. Sure, these indie titles might not have the most incredible graphics on them, but their content is so comparable to the big guys, sometimes even completely surpassing them. Making a game is difficult. Making a game alone is even more difficult. And getting that game to even reach 1000 players requires you to be extremely lucky. But the feeling of achieving that, having all of your hard work and presumably countless nights crying pay off, is indescribable for both you and the players. I mean, who doesn't like a good underdog story? More and more indie games are getting the recognition that they deserve, and as a love letter to their success, today I'd like to present a few of my most favorite indie titles, aka, indie games that I find addictive. Some of these games that I mentioned are pretty popular, but they are popular for a pretty good reason, so please bear with me. Others are ones that are slowly fading away to time or have never really gotten the appreciation that they deserved. If you want, you can consider them as hidden gems or whatever. I hate using that phrase, personally. It's very, very overused. It's incredibly overused. Alright, so let's get on with the first game that many of you should know. It's Balatro. Balatro needs no introduction at all, having won 3 awards at Game of the Year 2025 Balatro! And selling over 5 million copies on all platforms. The game practically speaks for itself. Made by acclaimed indie game developer Local Thunk, Balatro's success was attributed to its, to put it mildly, crippling addictive gameplay. The core gameplay of Balatro has been compared to the classics like Tetris for its convenience, its simplicity, and just for how fun it is. Of course, saying it's simple doesn't mean that you can't be creative with it. Balatro, being a deck building game at its core, offers a myriad of opportunities to tinker around with different deck builds. To quickly give it a rundown, each game in Balatro starts off with you selecting your deck of choice. This is followed by buying jokers with unique traits, planet cards that upgrade your hands, tarot cards with various abilities, and vouchers that they do something. These ultimately are here to help you to beat the bosses on each ante, and eventually to reach the point where the numbers get so big, they start using letters. From what I've seen from various pro Balatro streams, a pretty good setup is to use the Ballad Joker and the Photograph Joker. This will trigger the first played face card about 3 times, which will result in a ×6 multiplier at minimum, which, as you should be able to guess, is pretty good.
You're pretty.
Of course, this depends on how lucky you get. Every game of Balatro is personalized, and you need to play with the cards that you are dealt with. Now, a lot of people find Balatro fun for plenty of reasons, right? But I think we can all agree on one thing, that beating Goat Stake on any deck drives your dopamine through the roof. Same thing applies for when you get Blueprint or Brainstorm, or when the Wheel of Fortune actually works. Like a drug addiction, Balatro constantly makes me, and let's be honest, probably you, search for that high. But we all know the sad truth, that the first time we made Baron work with our deck was the best time, and that we can never ever again replicate that feeling. Now, a lot of YouTubers have already covered on Balatro, be it the gameplay or about the background and the work that went into Balatro. You can check out these videos here, they go greatly into detail about those things. But to basically summarize, Balatro is a fantastic roguelike deck building game that has truthfully earned its success, with its very engaging gameplay and suitability for everyone, old and young. Also, how do you pronounce Balatro? Is it Balatro or Balatro? I don't know. Streets of Rogue, developed by Matt Dabrowski, is a top-down roguelike immersive sim shooter. I know it's a lot of buzzwords that I just used, but let me break it down for you, right? Top-down being a bird's-eye view perspective, roguelike being procedurally generated maps and permadeath, yes, I'm quoting from Wikipedia. Immersive sim meaning that the game emphasizes a lot on player choice, allowing for multiple approaches to a mission and whatnot, and shooter being, shooter. So you might be asking, okay, so what is this game then? I still don't understand Dagobert, and I'd be like, okay, how about you look at this clip of me gambling as a monkey? Streets of Rogue, if I had to describe it, is a playground for you to do whatever you ever wanted to do. Weapons, drugs, robbery, bribery, extortion, injecting a community pool with cyanide. You can do whatever you want in this game. It's like GTA, minus the cars, minus the jets, minus the oppressors, but yet still double the possibilities. And that's probably why I find it so fun, is that it encapsulates a true feeling of freedom of choice. One thing immersive sims like Streets of Rogue do right that most other games don't is exactly that. Take for example, open world games. They like to advertise themselves as very player choice. Like you can go anywhere you want, discover beautiful locations and find hidden treasures or whatever, sure. But while in reality it's the same cities or planets copy and pasted all over, only certain areas of importance having more essence and depth to them. You could say that it fulfills its objective of being player choice, that being the player's choice is choosing between fast travel location points or picking a stealth allowed approach when completing missions. This is a common problem amongst many open world games, with recycled gameplay elements and just a sad lack of ingenuity. Of course, they try to make this up with their modern graphics and in some cases actual great map design, like Cyberpunk and even Fallout 4. But you can only have so much ray tracing until the cracks start to show. Immersive sims do not suffer from this issue, with the developers, instead of focusing on making a grand map with different biomes and locations, concentrating onto a series of levels instead. In Streets of Rogue's case, they do exactly that. There are a total of 5 floors in each game, with each floor having its own theme, alongside with containing 3 levels. A set of missions is given per level, with the player having to complete them before they can move on. The best part, like I mentioned earlier, is that you can complete these missions in whatever fashion you want. Of course, you have your bread and butter approaches of sneak your allowed, right? But did you know that you could hire a couple of goons to do the job for you whilst you sit around? Or maybe you would prefer to hack into the base's defense to make them turn on their owners. Or you could always go the diplomatic approach and make close friends with the owners using your charisma. You can execute any mission in any way as long as you get the job done. And that's the beauty of Streets of Rogue and immersive sims. Of course, there's so much more in Streets of Rogue in terms of events, lore, items and whatnot, but that's a video for another time. I promise I'll make a video on Streets of Rogue. Streets of Rogue is a wonderful example of how different genres can work extremely well together when executed right. Its roguelike element combines incredibly well with its immersive simness, providing the player with infinite replayability and possibilities. If there is one game that I'd recommend you check out from this video, it's this one. Please show it the love that it never really got. Alright, so let's move on to our final game of the video, and it's what is that? Oh, it's Garry's. I kind of thought about whether I should have even put Gmod up on this list, because I was debating whether Gmod was an indie game. I mean, it is, right? Considering the fact that one guy, Garry Newman, made the game all the way back in 2004. That was like 21 years ago, by the way. But that should essentially validate Gmod as an indie game. However, Gmod at its origin is a Half-Life 2 mod, utilizing Valve's Source engine and borrowing a bunch of assets from the Half-Life series. So while Facepunch Studios, Garry Newman's company, is independent, the resources that they derived to make Gmod were borrowed from Valve. So it's kind of like in a grey area. The whole debate about what constitutes a game as an indie game has been debated for quite a while, but I like to think that Gmod is, ultimately, an independent product. Gmod had already forged its own identity all the way back in the 2010s as a physics sandbox, where you could play around with the funny models, drive the funny cars, venture into the darkroom in Construct, or make the silly contraptions. It was totally separate from Half-Life 2. I didn't even know what Half-Life 2 was when I first stumbled on the Gmod. I was watching YouTubers like Venturintio and Vandals Gaming doing, stupid shit, and I just remember having the best time of my life. Furthermore, I feel like I don't need to describe the profound impact Gmod has had on the internet. You can see its influence all the way back from videos like funny montages and the legendary Gmod Idiot Box series to current day with, unironically, Skibbity Toilet. Personally, I have very fond memories of Gmod, from messing around in Sandbox to joining RP servers. I really miss the days of owning a humble gun store and having a money printing operation in the back on dark RP servers. And of course, RDM. Moreover, the modding community of Gmod might be the best that I've ever seen, right? Very comparable to Minecraft. Like I'm telling you, these mod creators can make some incredible stuff. Like, look at this. You know who I am? I'm Lego Lord Beerus. I'm Lego. One thing in particular that I really appreciate from this community is the amount of terrific game modes there are. Some of these game modes can basically be games themselves with how well made they are. But GM_STS is one that I've recently tried with my friends, and it really is great fun. It's an arena fighting simulator that supports up to 4 teams that battle against each other with selected monsters, with special minigames occurring every 2 rounds where players on opposing teams can compete with one another for more points. There are elements of planning and strategizing in this game, allowing for some insane results during each arena fight. Nothing in this world can beat the feeling of gaming with friends, and Gmod is the perfect platform to do just that. Of course, there are so many more mods and game modes to tinker around with in Gmod, and it really is quite exciting to see what else the community can cook up. Gmod is a one-of-a-kind game that is near impossible to replace due to its internet's cultural significance and its loyal fanbase. Box, currently in development by Facepunch Studios, is made not to necessarily replace Gmod as well, but to become a spiritual successor. Gmod allows players to express their creativity and do what they want. And at this point, if you didn't notice, all three games that I mentioned today all share this similar trait. Balatro lets the player experiment with different decks and builds. Streets of Rogue encourages them to think of more ways to complete missions and to kill people, and Gmod just allows for your imagination to go wild with the source engine. Creativity, experimentation, freedom. You can call it what you want, but these are the values that make these games so addictive. One more thing, some of my original viewers might be asking, oh, why didn't I include Intravenous into this video? And to that I say, I already have a full-length video on Intravenous that's probably longer than this video, and I make shorts on Intravenous. I love Intravenous, don't get me wrong, but I can't keep talking about it. I'm sorry, I cannot keep. Thank you all for watching. This was a more fun formatted video that I wanted to try out, and I sincerely hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos where I just talk about this kind of stuff, leave a comment down below. If you want a more in-depth video on any of the games that I shared today, or have any game recommendations for me to try, type it down there as well. I read all of your comments and I try to reply to them, or at the least, you know, heart them. But yeah, make sure to like and subscribe as it greatly helps my channel, and aside from that, that's all I have to say. Have a good day. See you.